Good afternoon and welcome everybody. Welcome to our Senior Concerns seminar series. I'm Martha Shapiro and I'm the Director of Programs at Senior Concerns. Thank you all for joining us today. If you're not familiar with Senior Concerns, I just want to take a minute to share with you just what our core programs are. We operate a caregiver resource center with one-on-one care consultations as well as caregiver support groups. So if you are caring for an aging loved one, please reach out to us. We also offer senior advocacy services. If you have questions about resources, benefits, insurances, please give us a call and our senior advocates are happy to help you. We also operate the Meals on Wheels program for Thousand Oaks and Newbury Park. And in the Conejo Valley, we have started a volunteer grocery shopping service as well as an emergency food pantry. And we have two new programs that we've started. One is an in-home comprehensive geriatric assessment program, and the other is called ThinkFit, and it's an evidence-informed online fitness program for your mind and memory. And our two new programs do have a fee, and you can learn more about them on our website at seniorconcerns.org. So I'm very excited to get started with our seminar today. The topic is, will you pass your next driver's test? And this is always a very popular topic, and I've learned so much from attending these seminars as well. So it will be presented today by Tressa Thompson, who is the Senior Ombudsman for the Department of Motor Vehicles. And I am recording this presentation, so it will be posted on our website if you want to view it again after, or if you have any friends or family that are interested in learning more. You can go onto our website at seniorconcerns.org/seminars, and you can view all of our past seminars, as well as see all of our upcoming seminars and click to register online. We're viewing this presentation in webinar mode, and that means you as the audience are in listen-only mode. So if you do have any sort of technical issues or questions for me as the facilitator, you can type it into the chat box. If you're new to Zoom, you just kind of usually wave your mouse over the screen and you'll see comes up at the bottom where there's a chat box and you can type to me. Or if you have a question for the presenter on this topic, please use the box that says Q&A. As she's talking, feel free to type your questions in, but she won't be able to see them until we're done with the presentation. But I don't want you to forget your question, so type it in. And if I see that she's already answered it, then I will go ahead and just type it back to you. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Tressa Thompson. She has been with the California Department of Motor Vehicles for 25 years. In her current position as Senior Driver Ombudsman, she's involved in public outreach with senior organizations to ensure this demographic has correct information regarding the DMV and safety. She covers Los Angeles County and Central Coast counties, wherein she frequently has contact with senior centers and senior communities. And she used to do these seminars in person for us, but one thing that's nice about doing them over Zoom is hopefully more of you have the ability to join from home from any location. So I thank you so much, and I will turn it over to Tressa Thompson.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Tressa Thompson, Senior Driver Ombudsman with the Department of Motor Vehicles. And I'll be here with you today to hopefully give you the most current information about what's happening in light of COVID and how it affects Department of Motor Vehicles, and most importantly, to answer your questions. So we'll move right into the slide presentation. Just a little background about the Ombudsman program. This program was started after that farmers market incident in Santa Monica in July of 2003, tongue-tied today. In a continuing effort, and you can go to the next slide, Martha, in a continuing effort to keep our seniors driving for as long as they can do so safely, that is why the Ombudsman program was created. As a go-between for seniors and the Department of Motor Vehicles. Seniors, because of course you make up the largest part of the population. We want to make sure that you have someone that you can reach out to within our agency if you're having some issues, whether it's regarding your driver's license or just basic questions and you need to talk to someone. I represent an interest in all public safety for California motorists with a special interest in the seniors. So just to go back to that farmer's market incident, it happened to be a senior driver. Unfortunately, he had an incident or accident where he drove through the crowded farmer's market. There are a lot of fatalities and injuries after that incident. And so after that, a lot of seniors felt picked on by law enforcement as well as DMV. So that's why this was specifically created, okay? We can go to the next slide. So as the Ombudsman, I'm here to address your questions, your concerns, any issues, and I want to make sure, most importantly, also that the Department of Motor Vehicles is handling your case according to our policy and procedure. So that's pretty much what I do from an Ombudsman, okay? Next slide. Someone is saying they can't see the slides, Martha. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Yeah, I just thought.
Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, if anybody else is having trouble seeing the slides, please tell me. It seems other people here are seeing them.
Okay.
So let's continue and I'll try to see if I can troubleshoot with them.
Okay. So just some senior driver facts. Seniors are the safest group of drivers, and that probably does not surprise anyone here. You're the largest part of the population, so it's the largest group of drivers. It's a growing group, and seniors relatively have a low traffic collisions. Unfortunately, based on just body and physical issues, the fatality and injury rate is higher if they're involved in an accident, but they have relatively low traffic collisions, okay? Unfortunately, when there is a senior-related incident, it gets a lot of media attention. So of course, DMV, we don't control the media, but we have our statistics, and we know that drivers between the ages of 16 to 20-ish are 4 times more likely to get involved in a collision than drivers over the age of 75. Okay, and we kind of wonder, why is that? Well, usually it has to do with good old-fashioned common sense, and of course the fact that we having our licenses longer, we just have more exposure and knowledge and abilities to know how to maneuver when we're out there in a situation where it causes for safety. So that's pretty much how that works. Okay, go to the next slide. And so there are some situations in traffic and with driving where seniors are increasingly more at risk, okay? And that has to do with angle turns, left and right turns across traffic. That's when some of us realize there's a loss of vision in the left eye, or our peripheral vision. And I say left eye because when we're making a left turn, you know, we're kind of depending on that left eye. If there's a vehicle in front of me, a truck or a bus, and it blocks my vision where I can't see everything, I'm kind of depending on that left eye, because that's the only thing that I can see that's coming at me. I can't see with this one because there's a truck ahead of me possibly. So that's when sometimes people realize when they're out there in traffic, oh, this is I had a near miss accident when I made that left turn. It's always a left turn. That's kind of an indication maybe you should get your vision checked. Okay, that's very important. And to do that on a regular basis. The next thing is slowing and stopping. This is something that I hear almost on a routine basis, especially if someone is asked to take a behind the wheel driving test. Driving too slow. Driving on our drive test, if you're driving 10 miles per hour over or 10 miles per hour under the speed limit, you're not going to pass the test. Now, it has to be conditions, you know, conducive for you to be driving that slow. But remember, and we'll talk about it in more detail, when you're taking a driving test, it is a test. So if the weather conditions are great, there's no traffic, pedestrians in your way, you should be at or about the speed limit. Now, of course, if there are issues, concerns, hazards, then you modify your speed. Unnecessary stopping is also an issue with most of our senior drivers, and it comes out on the drive test. You know, these things come out and are very noticeable when you're taking an actual driving test. Okay, and we'll talk about more about driving tests later. Accidents, okay, more increasingly at risk for accidents during left, right, and U-turns, backing up, okay, merging, and parking or leaving a park position. Well, leaving a park position is fairly simple as well as parking, but you can't get so focused on the task of parking and or leaving the position without some of the basics, looking around you. When you're leaving a park position, you should turn on your signal and you have to check for traffic. Anytime you are going into traffic that's already moving, it's your responsibility to check traffic. Just like when you're making a left turn. When we make a left turn, it's the driver's responsibility making that left turn to make sure oncoming traffic is clear, that there are no pedestrians or bicyclists in that crosswalk that we're going to have to turn across or through. So that's very important to remember when you're out there handling these maneuvers. If you're no longer comfortable making left turns for whatever reason, if you make a few right turns around the block, you'll still get to your destination. If it's something that you have to avoid for safety, that's not a problem, as long as you can make sure you have an alternate route. Okay, next slide. Okay, so most of our seniors restrict their license or restrict their driving. They limit themselves. And I don't want anyone to think that that's a bad thing, because it is not. I think that's responsible, and it recognizes and you recognize and accept change. And I think that's a great thing. And these are some of the examples. It doesn't mean that you have to do these things, but our statistics show that most seniors are not driving at night. They don't drive the freeway. They don't drive long distances. They drive only during light traffic. And most oftentimes they drive only in familiar areas. So I'm sure this is familiar to some of us here, and that's great. But I want to make sure you understand that does not mean that you're not a good driver. It just means that you're responsible. You recognize, hey, I don't like driving at night. I don't see as well. Then don't put yourself in that situation, whatever it may be. Okay, it's always a good thing to keep yourself in a situation where you're comfortable. And then that way, hopefully, of course, you can drive and you're safe. And that's what we mean by driving as long as you can do so safely. Okay, next slide. So here in California, there are some driver's license renewal requirements. So once your license expires and you are 70 and older at the time of the expiration, you will get a renewal notice like everyone else about 3 or 4 months before your birthday. You must come in person to the DMV to renew your license, okay? Then if we follow the little graph, what's required of you at 70 and older once you come into the DMV? You must take the vision and written test. With the vision test, our eye chart is that we're looking for 20/40 with both eyes, 20/40 with one eye, and at least 20/70 with the other eye. Okay, so 20/40, 20/40, at least 20/70. Doesn't matter about the individual eye, which one is 20/40 or 20/70. That's going to vary with each person. That's what we're looking for. If for some reason you don't meet those vision standards, okay, at the time of the actual test, we're going to give you a form for you to take to your actual eye doctor. And they have to complete that form, send it back to us to let us know what is the diagnosis, what is the treatment plan, and does it affect one eye, both eye? We're looking at all of those factors. If you still don't pass, if there's a condition that's possibly progressive, we may then request an actual behind the wheel driving test. That's when a drive test will be required. Okay, so that covers the vision portion. So if you come into the DMV and you don't pass our vision test, that does not automatically mean that you won't get a license. It may mean you have to do something extra by getting that form. Okay. Okay. As far as the knowledge test or the written test, there are 18 questions on this test. You get 3 chances to take the test, and you can miss 3. So you have to get 15 right for a passing score, okay? As long as you pass the vision and the written, you are given a driver's license for 5 years. And you renew again in 5 years. Now, let me go back to the vision for a moment. Let's say you bring us that vision form from the doctor. It's a progressive condition. It affects one eye. It's something that's going to deteriorate or change over time. Then we may not give you a full 5-year license. We'll require you to take a driving test, remember, behind the wheel. And then we only will give you a license possibly for 1 or maybe 2 years. That's called a limited term license, okay? So you won't get a full 5-year license. You'll still get your full driving privileges, but we may need to see you more often to check on the status of that progressive vision condition, okay? So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. And we'll talk about it more, of course, if there are questions. Next slide. So currently here in California, there have been some changes because of COVID. COVID has changed a lot of things that we're doing at the DMV and just around the world in general. So right now, if you are 70 and older, we know that we just talked about it requires an in-person visit to renew the license. However, if your license expires between March of this year and December of this year, the governor authorized a 1-year extension to your driver's license. So, but you have to have a birthday between March of this year and December of this year where your license expires. Then you'll be extended for 1 year from your birth date. So your license will expire in 2021 on your birth date. Hopefully I didn't confuse anyone, okay? If you're under 70, so if you're 69 and younger and your license expired between March and July of this year, it was extended to July 31st of 2020. Okay, that's gone, of course, that's over. But what we have done as a department to try to catch up with technology as well as deal with COVID, they have expanded the eligibility to renew online or by mail. So maybe you're 69 and you would have had to come in because it's been a long time since we've seen you. They would now allow you to renew your license online or by mail. So they've expanded that program so that more people that are 69 and under or younger can renew without having to come into the office, okay? We'll go to the next slide. So one of the questions that I get a lot is how do you prepare for the DMV's test? Good old-fashioned California handbook. That's going to be your favorite and most trusted tool to prepare for the test. It's a very good read, but I would only try to read that book for 15, 20 minutes. More than 20, 25 minutes, I say it turns your brain to mush. It's a lot of information. You know the information. That book is not designed to intimidate you. It's really a reminder of just what we need to implement as we're driving, which all of you already know. Most of you have great driving records, good insurance rates. So that I don't question. However, when we go back to one of the slides where we don't have to literally go back, but when we think about the slide we talked about that said that we limit our driving as we age or get older, that means some things we're not as familiar with anymore, like maybe the freeway or driving in inclement weather conditions. You know, snow is getting closer to California or to Los Angeles every year. So, you know, you may drive in an area where, hey, there's some ice on the road or some snow. So in that book, it'll cover what you need to do. And of course, we don't know what 18 questions you're going to get. That may be one of the questions on your test. So if you read through the booklet carefully, 15, 20 minutes, once or twice a day, you're going to cover some of those things and they'll stick in your mind, especially the things you're not familiar with. You may want to read over it twice or make a note or just, you know, have some mental note about it, because if it is on the test, it's going to kind of stick out to you because it's not something that you do all the time. We also have sample tests that are available online or by mail. If you request it, I will mail them to you. But we give you 5 sample tests. Now, I have to be clear. These are sample tests. These are not the exact questions that will appear on the actual test at the DMV. It's the same information, but it won't be worded the exact same way. So I always recommend to read the booklet, and I always also recommend use the sample test as a guide and as a kind of morale booster, so that you can, read that booklet, take those tests, and then say, okay, I'm doing really well on the test. I'm recognizing and retaining the information. That's a good gauge of how you're doing with retaining the information. So we give you 5 sample tests, 10 questions each. So that's 50 questions to go over at your leisure. Okay. We don't give actual classes at the DMV. We do endorse or, stand by AARP because their course is, their curriculum is approved by the Department of Motor Vehicles. So they have driver safety classes. You can call them on the phone. You can go online. These prices are probably approximate. I try to call them every year to check the pricing. So members are around $19.95, so $20 or a little less. Non-members is $24, $25. So it's a nominal fee. The course is an 8-hour course. It's usually broken up over 2 days, 4 hours each day. It's kind of a win-win. It goes over the entire handbook, and you get your own manual that you can write in and make notes. You're amongst your peers. And also, when you complete the course, you get a certificate of completion, and you can utilize that certificate to get a discount on your insurance. Okay, I think that's always good. An insurance discount is always great. So that's something that you would talk to about with your insurance company. So if you're thinking about the class, maybe you want to call your insurance agent to find out, I'm thinking about taking the class of AARP. Do you recognize this course to give me a discount? And I think it's good. If you can schedule this class on or around the time that maybe you have to renew your license, it's also a good refresher for you. Okay, next slide. So when you go into our DMV offices to take your test, your knowledge test, you have some options. We do have some new technology, but please make sure you're aware the good old-fashioned paper and pencil is still available, but you have to request it. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed to request it. If that's the way, the manner in which you want to take the test, you just let the technician know at the testing area, I want the paper test. Okay, because we do have what the next option is called a touch screen. That's our newest technology. So of course we're trying to kind of steer away from paper because, trying to be responsible as an agency. However, the touch screen is just like using an iPad or a Kindle. It's no keypad, it's just the screen. Okay, you just touch. It's just done by touch. There's also a way of doing it by audio where you listen to it and then you choose the correct answer, or something that's called a face-to-face, or we also call it person-to-person. That's usually reserved for persons that have maybe English is not their first language, or they have some learning disabilities, different level of education, which is fine. That's where we take you into an office. It's a small group. The questions are read to you. It's the same information. The questions are just phrased in a manner in which you answer yes or no on your paper. It's not multiple choice. So it's designed to, be as simple as possible, but you still have to demonstrate that you know the rules of the road. Okay? Whenever you take the face-to-face or you take our test in any other language than English, you also have to pass a signs test. And that's to demonstrate and show that you are knowledgeable of the signs, which are going to be in English, and you have an understanding of those signs. Okay? Next slide. We're going to go over these quickly because I think they're helpful for most of us. Even if you don't have to take a drive test, it's just a reminder. The top 10 reasons for drive test failures. 1, unsafe lane change. Just remember SMOG, the acronym SMOG. You're going to signal, you're going to check your mirror, you're going to look over the shoulder, and go when clear. That's something that we all learned in driver's ed, driver's training, and that still stands today. Signal, check the mirror, look over the shoulder, go when clear. 2, failure to yield. So an example, you're at a left turn with the green signal. You're supposed to edge to the middle of the intersection. Okay, you're not supposed to stay behind the crosswalk when you are making a left turn at an uncontrolled intersection, meaning it's not controlled with the arrow, it's just a green light. You have to edge up some and then wait till it's clear to make that left turn. Failure to stop. Has anyone ever heard of a California roll, California stop? I won't wait for the hands to go up. There's no such thing, guys, okay? No such thing. That just means that you ran the stop sign slowly, okay? You have to make a complete stop behind the limit line. I promise you, if you're pulled over and the officer said you didn't stop, and you say, I did a California roll, they're not gonna be amused. They're gonna want your license and registration, and they could, of course, cite you at their discretion for failure to stop at the stop sign, okay? So you wanna look to the left and the right. And this is another situation that occurs. If there's something obstructing your view, even though you're stopped behind the limit line, you can't just close your eyes and run out there and hopefully nothing's coming. If you stop behind the limit line and you still can't see, whether it's a tree or a vehicle, you have to ease up a little bit and look to the left and right, and then you go when it's clear, okay? A lot of driving, of course, we know is a lot of common sense. Number 4, illegal left turns. So turning from a double left turn lane. So let's say there are 2 lanes that allow you to turn left. You have to know when to end or where to end your turn. You can't be in the inside lane and end up turning in the curb lane, because you're going to cut this car off. Okay, my diagram is cheesy, but that's all I have right now in my hand. So, you know, that's something that you want to make sure that you're aware of. Your lane placement, okay, is very important. We talked a little bit about improper speed. Look for the posted speed limits. Know what the speed limits are. You know, in a residential, it's 25. In an alley, I think it's 15. In a school area, it's 25. So know what this approximate speed limits are in different areas. And then, of course, you need to adhere to that. If you're 10 miles per hour under or 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, you're not going to pass our test. We talked about that a little earlier. Number 6, lack of experience. So maybe doing something you don't do all the time. You know, backing up, you have to look behind you. We cannot just rely on mirrors, and we can't rely on just technology, because we have cameras now in our vehicles, which is a great luxury to have. I have one, and I find myself rarely using it because I'm so used to looking over the shoulder. I've had my license for that long. I'm dating myself, right? Because I don't really use that technology. Sometimes I look and I turn around, I'm like, oh, I forgot I have a camera there. So we don't allow you to use that technology on the test. We want to make sure, what if that technology fails? It's good to use. Definitely, you can use it as a tool, but we don't want you to just be dependent on that. That's, I think, more for the younger drivers, okay? Because when I had my first car, it surely didn't have any cameras in it, okay? Being unfamiliar with the vehicle. So familiarize yourself with your auxiliary equipment. Things like the lights, the windshield wipers, the signal, the horn, how to defrost the windows. Very important. Those are things that will be asked of you before you even take off. Number 8 is poor scanning. You want to make sure you're looking at pedestrians, signs, traffic conditions, and tailgaters. If someone is just behind you, excessively tailgating, if you can safely get over it and let them go, let them have it. No big deal, right? You're going to get to your destination safely, and they're not going to be in your trunk, and you have to stop, and you're really detained from getting to where you're going. A lot of times I hear number 8 from my seniors, and they know this, but it causes them to fail the test. I was just being extra cautious. That sometimes creates traffic hazards. Driving too slow. You can get a ticket for that. I've had people call and they argue with me over that they shouldn't get a ticket for that, but you can get a citation for driving too slow, and that can be the result of you failing your test, driving too slow. Being unfamiliar with traffic situations. Look at the area that you're in. Pay attention to special circumstances, okay? And that's it. If there's no speed limit posted, unless otherwise posted, the speed limit is usually about 25 miles per hour, okay? That's just something to look through your booklet to find, because sometimes you drive for a while and you don't see a sign. Okay, so the next slide. So there's some things that happen behind the scenes at DMV, because of course we're here to look at the motoring public to ensure traffic safety. So sometimes people have different medical conditions, mental conditions, health issues. So there are referrals that we will accept. Doctors are mandated reporters. So a doctor must report a condition that may affect driving. Doesn't matter the age of the patient or the driver, okay? So it's not just for seniors, that's for anyone. Family or friends can also report. They must identify themselves. We do not accept anonymous referrals. So if Martha wants to report me after this report and says that she saw me back into the tree and almost run on the curb and hit the building, she can report me, but she has to say who she is. She can also request to be confidential, which we will respect, okay? But she has to identify herself. Lastly, law enforcement. So they have something that's called a notice of re-examination. They do not have to issue a traffic ticket. This is a re-examination that directs you directly to the DMV driver safety branch. Well, you will be re-examined eventually. You will talk to someone about what the officer observed or the traffic collision, any medical conditions that resulted in that collision. Will ask for a medical form from your doctor, and then testing, okay? Written, vision, and usually a driving test, okay? Okay, next slide. We talked a little bit about vision health. So again, it breaks it down here. For both eyes, we're looking for 20/40. In one eye, we're looking for 20/40, and at least 20/70 in the other eye. Those are our vision standards. So if you don't meet those vision standards, it's not over. If it's something more serious than just having glasses, we will give you a vision form that you take to your eye doctor, okay? And then you bring it back to us. You must have visual acuity better than 2200, best corrected, in at least one eye before a license can be issued. So there is an issue to where the DMV will not be able to issue a license if you're not better than 2200 in the best corrected. Okay, you cannot there are no bioptic or telescopic or similar lenses to meet the 2200 visual acuity standard in the better eye. Okay, next slide. So health and safety plays a major role in driving a motor vehicle. Physical and mental conditions may require regular visits to your physician. Follow up if medication is prescribed, working with your physician to stabilize any condition, and being responsible regarding side effects from your medication, whether it's prescription or over the counter. If I take a medication, it's my responsibility to know the side effects. Does it make me groggy? Does it make me, nauseated? Am I going to be disoriented? So I always say, if you're going to get a new medication, I wouldn't try that medication and then go drive, because you just don't know how your body's going to react to that. So it's better to have that new medication, take it. Don't ever not take your medication because of the side effects. That's something you talk with your doctor about. But the driving you may have to put off until it's adjusted to you, okay? Next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about Real ID. Real ID for your driver's license or identification card is a federal program that will be mandatory and effective October 1st of 2021. The federal government moved it back 1 year because of COVID, okay? So the federally compliant Real ID or driver's license is going to be on the left. It shows a very bright gold bear on the top right corner, okay? The non-federally compliant ID or driver's license is on the right. And on the top right corner, it says federal limits apply, okay? And then we'll go into these in more detail in the next slide. So Real ID, again, is effective October 1st of 2021. It does require an in-person visit and some very specific documents. We need something from the identity document group. That can be an original or certified copy of any of the documents. Birth certificate, valid US passport, certificate of naturalization or citizenship. There are several more that are on our website, okay? One of those documents only. And then Social Security verification. We'll take your Social Security card, of course, a Social Security Administration 1099 or non-1099, a W-2, and a check stub. So all of those documents to verify your Social Security number should have your full 9-digit number. Nothing can be crossed out or redacted. Then the third requirement is proof of California residency. We need 2 documents from this section. They can be any 2 different utility bills, which includes a cell phone. It can be your vehicle or boat registration, the title to your vehicle, mortgage or rental lease agreement, insurance or health documents, or bank statements, okay? This list cannot be, we can't deviate from this list. This is a federal program. These are their requirements, so it has to be something here. When we talk about the identity document, we can't deviate and take something else. It has to be either birth certificate, valid passport, certificate of naturalization, or citizenship, okay? And like I said, there are other documents that we take in that section. But I just want to make sure we're clear. This is not our program. The DMV has to implement the program for the federal government. So these are the guidelines we've been given. Next slide. So the real ID or the federally compliant is required October 1st of 2021, okay? Real ID and federally compliant, it means the same thing. October 1st of 2021, it's going to be used or required to board a domestic flight, okay? You will need this to board a domestic flight. If you have a current valid US passport, you may use your passport. I don't want anyone to leave here today thinking I have to have real ID. It's a personal preference. And if you have a passport and you don't want the real ID, by all means, you use your valid passport. So it's going to be used to board domestic flights as well as enter secure federal facilities and military bases, okay? Again, it's not mandatory to have the real ID, and you may use a valid US passport or passport card to board domestic flights. So if you choose not to deal with the DMV right now, and you have a passport and you're traveling, October 1st of 2021 is if your passport is valid, you're good to go, okay? Next slide. Okay, so the card that is not federally compliant, which indicates it by saying federal limits apply on the top right corner, it will not be allowed for you to board a plane starting October 1st of 2021. If you show up to the airport through TSA and this is all that you have, it won't work, okay? You will not be allowed to enter a secure federal facility also if this is all that you have, because it indicates federal limits apply, okay? Next slide. So DMV has definitely been affected by COVID. I'm looking at this here and COVID has changed even my PowerPoint. So appointments at this time are not available, okay? I will say that again because I've seen some questions already pop up about appointments. Appointments for renewing your driver's license or your ID card or to get a registration for your vehicle are not being taken at this time. Unfortunately, I do not have a time frame when they're going to allow us to make appointments again. I can't make them for anyone, and they're not available on our website, okay? This is usually the number that you can contact to make an appointment, as well as going on our website, which I put there. The website information is still good because you can still go on there to check to see. They're updating it regularly regarding new information because of COVID. Other options, service options, we do have kiosks. These are little machines that are at local grocery stores in different areas that you can at least get your vehicle registration done. It won't process a driver's license or ID card, but it will process the needs of your vehicle registration. You don't have to worry about a line. You can do your grocery shopping, check out, and then go to the kiosk and get your stickers. It gives you your actual stickers and registration at that time, okay? And at this time, I want to make sure we have time, so I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you so much. Let's see.
No problem.
I'm going to leave this screen up for another moment because people are going to want to write down your contact information, I am sure.
No problem.
So I will leave this screen up so people can all write down, because Tressa is so wonderful and responsive, and you can call her directly or email her directly if there's any other questions or a unique situation. And now I'm going to look into our question and answers. So one question is, can you pick up the DMV handbook at the offices? At the DMV
You can. If you don't mind going to an office, you can definitely pick up a handbook, but you have my information. I can also mail you a handbook and save you a trip. So that's not a problem. You can always call me or email me your information and I'll send you the handbook.
That's a pretty wonderful offer. So that's another reason people need to write down your contact information.
Yes.
Now someone asks, if I fail the written exam, how long do I have to wait before I can retake the test?
There's no waiting period. So if you fail the written exam, if you want to go back the next day, you can. If you want to go back 2 hours later, you can do that. When you pay to renew your license, you have 1 year to complete that application. So, you have 1 year to take your time and take the test, or to go through it quickly. Your call.
Do you only pay once, or do you have to pay again?
You pay one time $37, okay? And then if you fail the test 3 times, then that application is voided, and then you pay again. But you have 3 chances under that $36.
Okay, that's really good to know. I didn't know that.
Yes.